Alright, so today I'm going to talk about some classroom interventions that I worked on over the semester. I'm going to talk about three specific ones, even though we developed many things that we can use for students with high incidence disabilities. So let's move on to the introduction. So once again, I created a good bit of things this semester that could be used as interventions in a classroom. The three things that I think are most important that I worked on were the visual tactile schedule. I created a digital story, and I even taught a lesson on the STAR math strategy. So all three of these interventions have something in common, and that is that they are a different method of learning. So I think it's important for educators to remember that every student learns differently, and that as educators, it is our job to make learning special to them. So it's important for us to individualize learning for each one of our students. So if they have a disability or something, it should be our job to meet that need. So today I'm going to talk about these interventions and how they were used to help students with high incidence disabilities or how they could be used. So first, let's talk about what a high incidence disability is. And high incidence includes any disability such as autism spectrum disorders, communication disorders, intellectual disabilities, specific learning disabilities, emotional and behavioral disorders, physical and sensory needs, so that they're affecting the educational opportunities of that child, and students with a range of high incidence disabilities that complicate learning are able to participate in typical school curriculum with some additional learning support. So that means like stuff we're going to do as teachers and as paraprofessionals to help our students continue on with the typical school curriculum. So the first intervention I did was a visual tactile schedule. Sorry, the pictures are blurry. I was trying to take them on my phone. So for this schedule, I did it for a student at Ebner Elementary in Altoona. He was a kindergarten student and he has IED, so that's intermittent explosive disorder, and it's where he just becomes very angry very quickly. So he he doesn't like rules. He doesn't like to be told what to do, and when he is, he feels like he's being attacked. So his way of dealing with it is to have a meltdown. There are many times where he would be going from like a reading activity into a writing activity where he just didn't want to, so he would throw himself on the floor, start kicking, screaming, and this obviously affected the learning of his classmates and also himself because during the time he was throwing himself on the floor, he was missing out on the great educational opportunity of getting that writing enrichment, reading with his peers, all this stuff he was missing out on because of his disability. And he did have a small behavior contract set up, so if he could make it through a whole lesson, he would receive a toy car that would go in his pocket. And once he received both toy cars, so he had a car in each pocket, he would be able to play with them for 5 minutes before lunch, and then again in the afternoon the same thing would happen. He'd be able to play with them 5 minutes at the end of the day. But I noticed like there was still like some disconnect happening where he was getting upset, and it was most commonly occurring during the transition period. So I talked to Miss Green about how I could help, and for this class, one of the options was an organization system. I thought maybe if I have a schedule printed out step by step, he'll be more comfortable with transitioning between two activities. So I put his schedule in order, so it went reading, phonics, writing, lunch, and then writing again, math, science, and then he was dismissed to go home for the day. Sorry, should clarify that. So whenever he would have whenever we'd be going from reading to phonics, he had a first then chart I made up. So we would put first I'm going to go to reading, then I'm going to go to phonics. And it helped quite a bit. I mean, he knew it was coming and what was expected of him. It still didn't seem to work though. He did use it. His aide still uses it with him. We went over each step with him, showing him like which one stands for reading, phonics, each step. And I just feel like there could have been more done. Maybe his behavior contract needs to be more specific, but this could be really helpful for students with high incidence disabilities. Just because it didn't work for the student I was working with doesn't mean it can't work for other students. So how can this organization system help? Visual tactile schedules help students with high incidence disabilities become organized so they can see that step by step. They know what is happening every second. Not every second maybe, but they'll know what to expect next. And that's really important for students with high incidence disabilities because they always get confused. Maybe they can't keep that in their head. Like maybe they don't realize that every day after reading I'm going to go straight to writing. Maybe that's just not how their thinking works. So it's better for them to have this schedule concrete in front of them. So I wrote right here, it's hard for them to remember their schedule. So having something concrete is perfect. Being able to take the reading picture off of the chart and then put it onto his first sentence. He is physically moving it, and that is so crucial. So he can see this is first, and then he'll see the next. Alright, so the second intervention I did was a digital story. I worked on this in my placement at Central Cambria in the multiple disabilities classroom. I chose a News to You article because the students there were learning about, there were 3 girls and they were learning about space that week. So I was like, this perfect opportunity to find a News to You article. The teacher there, Miss Hockey, told me like all they do there is News to You. The students love it. There's 3 girls and all with super high incidence disabilities. Like most of the time they don't do instruction together, so sometimes it's separated. So by having this story that they can all work on together really helped. It was a step-by-step story. You can see on this picture here, there's a home button that will take you back to the page you're seeing now. But then I also voiced over, so maybe a student can't read the words. I voiced it, so I read the words. Maybe like visual impairment, this would be great. It would be a great use. And then you can see the purple little arrows is to hit the next button to the page. So digital story sharing. So once again, I use this in my MDS placement at Central Cambria High School. And digital story sharing helps students with high incidence abilities because it adapts the text. So maybe they can't read word for word, paragraph after paragraph, but they can still read small sentences with pictures and sounds and stuff like that, and it can help them. So this is done through short sentences, pictures, and in mine I even included links to short videos and activities for my students to do. And just being able to see that, and I feel like in today's world, like technology is such a big thing, so why not adapt it for these students too? Why can't they use technology? So this is a perfect opportunity to come up to date with the century and also to help them too because they're not able to read all those small words in text. So shortening the sentences but getting the same message across is so important. The next thing I did was a STAR math strategy. I didn't get to teach this one in my placement because in the multiple disabilities classroom, even though the girls in there couldn't do stuff like the digital story, they weren't quite on the level of understanding math problems. I know we're supposed to remain competent in these students, but teaching them a strategy wouldn't really be beneficial for them, so I didn't do that. And then in kindergarten, they're not quite learning how to add and subtract, or they don't know that they are. So I decided to do this strategy, the STAR strategy. So the S stands for stop and read the problem carefully. Think about your plan. T stands for think about your plan and the strategy you use. A stands for act, follow your plan and solve the problem. And R stands for review your answer. So even though I didn't teach this in any of my placements, I taught this with my sister and my little cousin. They seem to really enjoy it. My sister's in college obviously now. But my cousin Rennie, she is only in, I believe she's in 1st grade, but she was able to relate to this and actually helped her, so that was useful for her. It was nice to have two different sides of it too. So I'm teaching someone older and younger. So that was interesting. So this strategy implementation can be used for students with high incidence disabilities because it helps them remember important information. So it's easier to remember a 4-letter word than it is to remember a paragraph. That's so important. I know, like, even not even a paragraph, long words. Like, when I was in high school, I learned PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. It was so much easier to remember than multiplication, exponents, all that stuff. Now I just remember it because I know that little saying, and it's so much easier, and it's catchy. That's the important part. And the one thing that teachers can do with these strategies is make posters of them and post them in the room so that way students can use them as quick references. So in conclusion, I learned that there is a wide variety of intervention strategies available for teachers to use for students with high incidence disabilities. I loved being able to explore new things as a future educator. These things are really important to me, so it was nice having that opportunity to learn more. And it was really nice to be, sorry, no noise interruption. And it was really nice to implement some of these things into my fieldwork placements. It was nice being able to show my teachers what I've been learning, and it's always great getting feedback from them as well. And I know I learned a lot about students with high incidence disabilities this semester, and I hope to continue to learn more. And I just wanted to say thank you for providing me with such amazing opportunities, and I'm honestly blessed to be in an education program that is meeting my needs just like I hope to meet the needs of my future students. And that is all I have. Thank you.